Awesome. Yay, it's been a while. Welcome back to Authority Alchemist. I'm here with author Grace Peterson. Super excited to have you here. And I want to dive into the world of self-publishing and what it's been like, along your journey and the pros and cons that you've had along your journey. So let's kind of start with what you have a book that's coming out. And
it already is.
It already is. Yay. Congratulations.
Thank
so let's
you.
tell us a little bit about your book that you have right now. And then let's rewind through the writing process and what that's been like.
Okay. So shameless self-promotion. Here is my book. There we go. It is Behind My Smile, a Rainbow Baby Story. It deals head on with the sensitive topic of termination for medical reasons of a pregnancy, as well as what it's like experiencing pregnancy after that loss. A topic that is extremely prevalent and yet so very little discussion and resources are available.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I've had many friends who've had losses and then have had their baby eventually. One girlfriend of mine, 9 times.
Oof.
Too. So I get what I don't personally get what that's like, but I have friends that have had that experience and I can only imagine. So tell me about this. Has to do with your story, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it's all my story. It originally started off as a coping strategy to deal with all of the trauma that I had endured. My son almost died when he was 6 weeks old and was hospitalized and was in the PICU for 10 days, and he was only 6 weeks old. So, I went through this process of finding out I was pregnant and then finding out that my baby was not going to make it, having lost my baby. Then shortly after that, finding out I'm pregnant again. And the timeline is off by 1 week.
Oh, wow.
From when I had my son and when we got the diagnosis of my daughter's fatal illness.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was off by 1 week. And that played a huge part in how I dealt with things. Went through a crazy labor and induction, had my son, and it's like, yay, finally. And then at 6 weeks, he almost died to major illness. So
wow.
As I said, the book was a coping strategy that I would literally type with one finger on my phone while I would nurse.
Oh my
just
God.
So I could get it all out and just, not have it up here, but just out.
Right. To have your voice.
Yes.
And I feel like that's so important. That's what I love to tell people about is every single one of us has a story, and whether we want to dive into it right at that moment or we want to wait till later, there's many people that wait till later. And I kind of call it the issues stay in your tissues if you don't get it.
Oh, I like that.
Thank you. And so it's, it's time to tell it. And it's really time to tell it. And it can hurt, but it can also heal so much. And to think about how many other people that have been through your experience or anyone's experience that may be having that story that you could help along the way.
Yes.
That might just your voice is that ringing, okay, she got through it. This is how maybe I can too, And so, and I'm curious too, what were some of your strategies that besides writing that helped get through it? And then when was that moment that you were like, wow, we got through it and here I am now and look where I'm at. Did you take those moments?
I don't know if there was any one particular moment that was we officially made it. There were several along the way, and then there were others that kind of keep happening. So strategies that helped me were there was this Facebook group called Pregnancy After Loss Support, PALS, PALS, and they were amazing. They were absolutely amazing because every single member has gone through pregnancy loss and is subsequently pregnant. So they know all of the fears, they can relate. The different part is we're not all TFMR. So some have had miscarriage, some have had stillbirth, some have actually had infant loss. But the unifying factor is we've all lost babies at some point, and now we are pregnant again, and we're sharing our our fears and our strategies and our everything. And it was such a wonderful, wonderful help to have all of those people there for me.
Oh, that's amazing. And thanks for sharing that, because hopefully someone out there that's watching will be able to, and get your book to be able to help you.
Yes, yes, I recommend that too.
And I'll plug it below. Where can they find your book?
It is on Amazon, and you can get it in ebook and in paperback.
Wonderful. Are you going to plan on doing a voice at all anytime?
You know, I've had a couple people ask me to do the audiobook, but I haven't gotten to it yet. It's definitely very high on my priority list.
I say do it. I mean, honestly, as a busy mom, and you know this, as a busy mom and like working and managing a toddler, all I have time is for audio. I love my physical books. Trust me, I have walls and walls of books.
Yeah.
But it's the audio now. It's like when I'm in the car, okay, I'm going to click on, a cool audio book that just, I don't want to listen to the radio. I don't want to listen to the news of what's going on. I want something positive or to help me kind of get through whatever I'm going through at the moment. So audio is the way to go for sure. So if you have that.
I think now that's my universal push to get the audiobook done.
Oh. And so how long did it take you to write the book? Like, what was your process like? And that, I know the one finger, like, kudos to you for doing it and getting it out there. But I'm curious how long the process took. And then how many drafts did you go through to get your final draft? That's a big question that people out there ask.
Oh gosh. Took a little over a year, I'd say, to officially write everything. Mm-hmm. And then 2022, leading up into 2022, I said my goal was to publish my book. So I contacted a friend and reference and so on and so forth, and they said, here, talk to this person. They're an editor. I said, okay. So literally on January 1st of 2022, I sent my full manuscript, which at the time is about 135 pages, to the first person. And that was where it all started.
Wow. That's amazing.
I didn't actually start writing it until my son was about 5 or 6 months old.
Okay.
So about a year and a half. And I also kept it a secret for several months.
Why?
Fear, anxiety, protection of my own thoughts. I didn't want to share it yet because it just kept coming and coming. Like the words just like a waterfall. And I was afraid that if I told anybody, my brain would go, nope, we're done. So I kept it a secret for a very, very long time. And when I transferred it from my phone to my computer, I think I had about 30 pages worth of writing already done.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And so when you got it to the editor, what was your process from there? Were you like, I'm going to go straight to a publisher, or what were your thoughts? What were your goals at that point?
Well, obviously publishing was the end goal because I believe I failed to mention there are no books on TFMR. All of the books on pregnancy loss and pregnancy after loss deal with stillbirth or miscarriage. So I didn't have a book to help me when I went through my issues. So I said, well, it's time to be the person I needed and make the thing that I needed. So that was a huge driving force to writing my book. So I sent my manuscript to the editor, and as I said, publishing was the ultimate goal. And she said, okay, let's work on, like condensing it down, formatting, etc., those things. I had another friend who was an author, and she introduced me to this thing called manuscript wish list. And, you can kind of like punch in your search terms and then find publishing houses or publishers that might be a good fit for your story. So I did that, and I think I did about 20 or so different query letters, and I was rejected by all of them.
And how long did it take for you to get an answer back?
Sometimes just a couple of days, sometimes a couple weeks, sometimes about a month or so. They all have like a little info thing which says, it could take up to X amount of time.
Yep. And I say this because so many people ask, and I say the same thing. It depends on your book proposal. It depends on the query letter. It depends who you're pitching, the time of year. I mean, there's so many things that go into it. And so every single one rejected. And did they say why?
Just wasn't a good fit for them. And a few of them said they wouldn't know how to market it. They weren't sure if the audience was there.
Interesting.
I got kind of mad at that one, and I responded back to their email with this just very rough list I had made. And I was like, okay, this Facebook group, this one, this one, this one. And I had listed all of the groups. And I think the smallest membership was like 12,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the smallest. Most of them were like 20 to 50. Some of them went up to 70 or 80,000 members. And it's like, these are all, audience members. You think there's no audience? Here you go. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, still, it's a very compelling story, but I don't think it'll work. I'll write it in.
Yeah, because of the topic, because it is like but it's interesting because it's like, and it's hard. I know you did a lot of your research too. And I'll give a little advice for the future, let's say for anyone else out there. When you're doing a query, it's so important to have a full book proposal. And in that proposal, like, because, first impressions are everything, right? And they've already made the decision because they've already had a meeting probably about it. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, whatever you say after, it's just that person or the assistant that's reading it, and it's not going to get always passed on. So what I say about this is like, in the future, having a book proposal, what I would do is get a bunch of quotes from everyone from those Facebook pages. I mean, as many as you can. Like if there's 30, great. And put them all in there and put in there. These are all, and I would screenshot like the Facebook group. That way it shows how many members are in it, and have a whole page on these are the groups that I'm a part of, and add it up, however many, if this is 12,000, this is 6,000, this is 3,000 members, whatever it is, add it all up and put on there, this is how many members. And then have pages of advanced praise and of people that will want to buy your book, that are in line waiting to buy your book, basically, like just from those groups saying, sure, I'd buy it. That way they see there's an audience out there.
I love that.
Because that's all they want to see. And if they firsthand, they're like, because it's a topic that's, scary to them, especially nowadays with, abortion being just such a crazy topic. And no one talks about the medical reasons. Nobody talks about it. It just isn't talked about. And it's really important because there are multiple women that I personally know of that they could have died, or they're, and they had to terminate, or because of like something that was going on, or their child, had issue, whatever it may have been. And it's just, again, it's like this taboo topic that needs to be talked about. Yes. So, and think of how many women out there, or couples even out there, especially women though, because we're the ones carrying, but have gone through this, that have nowhere to go, just like you had nowhere to go. And then you had to figure it out. Thank goodness for these Facebook groups. Thank goodness. But it's really important to have a book that supports, what you went through, to help other people to realize this. So anyway, in the future, for any topic at all, I just highly suggest that way you have pages and pages of this support. And you're like, that's why when they read it, they're like, oh, wow, this is untapped, and I would make the whole proposal about, this is what I went through and it's untapped. Will you be the one daring to help me step through this? I
think I had done that in a few, but I don't think I worded it so eloquently as to be like, we've got a gold mine here.
Mm-hmm. Let's be the pioneers that do this. And then I would also have some comparisons. I would go in and have at least 10 book titles that maybe they were on the same subject. And then I would find ones in the last 5 years. That's like the best to do. Mm-hmm. However, if one 10 years ago was like, top New York Times bestseller list or of with loss, dealing with loss, I would have it on there, and I would put why, because it sold 10 million books or whatever it was. But I would have at least 10 books in comparison to dealing with loss on different, and don't have to all be about, just different versions of loss. And guys, I know right now, I'm trying to think of what his name is. There's even one with like, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I'll get back to you later on. There's one that I know specific because I just talked about this with somebody that we were doing in a proposal. Anyway, look up lost books and look at the ones that hit the charts. And then put them on there, the pros and cons of each one. This sold this many books and mine is better because of this. And like, that's how you want to do it. And that way they're like, oh, wow, you did all their homework for them, because that's something they're going to go and do anyway. And they don't have it in their head right there. They're just going to be like, oh, touchy subject. I'm not going to go and even bother. But if you have it in front of their face where all these other books sold on loss, and yours isn't out there yet, and it's just untapped, and then write a whole section on how it's untapped, how it's so important and why, and then of course the support with the group, you get a meeting. I guarantee you at least get one meeting. And I would find, and as you're doing the research on all these books, that's when you look up the publisher for who they were. Who are these books published with, right? And then see, oh, okay, then that's maybe the publisher and person. Find out, see if you can find who the person was that was the agent at the time, who I should go and query. That's who I want to write. And then find them on LinkedIn, find them on Twitter, find them on Instagram, and like friend them all, and like, because by doing that, it shows A, you're serious, and B, like, hey, I've followed you for a bit. I know you sold this book and mine is this, but better because this topic hasn't been touched on yet. That's a way to kind of just hit them right there and for them to be like, wow. And then being that your book is self-published, when did you, it was this year, when this year did you publish it? Just curious.
It got published in May.
Okay. That's fantastic. So are you doing, and reeling back to your website, because I haven't looked at it yet. Do you have the book on your website? Is it easy for people to like, they do? Okay.
Well, on my Instagram is my link tree. Okay. And in my link tree are, all different ways to connect with me via Facebook, email, just through Instagram, also other podcasts that I've done. And there is a link to the book.
Wonderful. And I'm curious, are you going to be doing some coaching? Would you be open?
I would love to. I really think that's where I need to move to in my career path and, my life's purpose, because, being this lost mom with TFMR and just it's I feel like there's just so many different boxes that are checked off.
Yeah.
For me, that others need to have that resource. So
I think so too. And I think what's really cool is that you've got such a niche and a dialed in niche. And I have not heard of anyone else maybe there are other coaches, but I haven't heard of it. And you've written a book on it. So that already takes your career to here. So it's time to launch your coaching. I just want to speak to that. So
awesome.
Get that out there. Yeah. Get that out there. And start promoting it. Say, I'm going to do, whether it's one-on-one you want to start with, or whether you're like, maybe I'll create a group and maybe you do group coaching, whatever feels best to you. Start with that. And then just go for it. Could be your goal for the new year. I don't want to put.
You know what? I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I was thinking to myself, what's my goal this year? Because 2022 was to get my book published, and even though I got an offer from one publishing house, I would have self-published through them basically. And for 23, I just was like, well, I guess we'll continue that. So I think that's a great goal for 24, is to start coaching.
I think so. Definitely do it. If you need any help, I'm here as well. It's like,
absolutely.
I love helping transition into that. I think it'd be beautiful. Really.
And I would find out if I need classes or certification or anything.
Maybe a life coaching.
Okay.
Maybe get a life coaching certificate. Because that way you've got the base of life coaching and you understand that. And then it's your niche is dialed into what you do. And you know that best because you've been through it and you know what support they're needing. So I would just look into maybe take a life coaching course online, in January. I have a few I can recommend as well, but
that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. I'll email it to you and then just see what feels good and take your time doing it. And then once you're done, you're going to be like, wow, okay, great. And then dial in your niche, but you already have your niche. I feel like the hardest part is figuring out what your niche is. Because so many people want to help others, or they've got a book on, helping others in some way or healing, but they're not sure how to dial it in. You know that. So that hard part is already done. You're
I
right.
never did work in, nice sequence.
It's great though.
It's funny because I think I wrote it, I forget where I mentioned it, but one night at, I think it was like a 3 o'clock feeding, I was sitting there and I was like, oh my gosh, my story of success could be somebody else's guide to survival.
Yes.
And that was like the premise, and that was a huge launch for me. And again, mentioning reasons why my book is different. I'm not a social worker. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a clinician. I am a real mom explaining what it's really like going through this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very raw, it's very real, and it's very relatable.
I think that's the hugest thing. Honestly, it is. Because as a mom, if I were going through that, I'd want someone who went through it. That's who I want to work with. Otherwise, you just don't fully get it. I hate saying that, but it's like, no matter what it is in the background that you've got going on and you're going to a therapist or a coach for, they have had to have that same experience, or it doesn't feel
Yeah.
right. It doesn't feel. So you've got, like I said, you've got it dialed in, you've been there. Just get the certification. That way you've got some background on like maybe how to handle some certain situations. And then I think you're going to be good to go. I really do. And then I would start with one-on-ones, open up to one-on-ones, start talking about it on your Instagram. You can talk about it now. And I think I'm going to go for my certification for this, and I'm going to start taking clients in the new year, maybe second quarter. That way first quarter's focused on, certification and kind of dialing in your platform. And then second quarter, which would be like April, May, you could say I'm open up. And what you could do is you could even create a waiting list on your website.
Ooh.
I would do that. And that way you have like a waiting list, like who wants to get on the wait list now for when I open up? And start creating your email list now. That's a great way to do it.
I love this. I love it so much.
Yay. Yeah. And you could just, if you don't have an email list yet, I would go to like Flowdesk. And that's one of my favorites. It's flowdesk.com. I can email this to you later.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. And just go and get the free version for now. And then there's actually a form on there that you can create and embed it onto your website. It's actually really simple, believe it or not, because I didn't know any of this before and I figured it out. And now I have a girl that does it, but it's super easy. And then that way you've got the email capture. It goes right into your list. And then, you'll get alerted, and hopefully you'll get some people that might be interested, and you'll have like an interest waiting list for when you're ready to launch.
This is awesome. I know it's such a, generic word, but this is really awesome. And I'm just so glad to get such amazing advice and feedback. And, like you just saying, dial it in. And I have all these pieces, and it's just time to shake them and set them in.
Exactly. And if you start speaking now on your Instagram about it, you're going to get that audience. It's going to come in. And I would just use the proper hashtags too, obviously. I would put, and I forget the abbreviations,
TFMR.
I would use that. And then I would also use like baby loss, just like type in all those, all those words. And then that way it kind of, and then I would do some lives as well, just speaking to, or you can even do some reading some quotes from the book. That could be fun.
So funny you mentioned that. I literally last night, during the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep, I was like, wonder if I should do some audio of me reading my book and putting like little teasers up on Instagram.
Yes. Absolutely do that. Absolutely. Do it. And then I would put it on, I would do reels, because reels are like, what works for Instagram right now is the reels. So let Instagram work for you. Like the posts they're not really working. People are struggling, I think, with that. Do both, but try and do as many reels as you can. You'll get more of an audience that way. Okay. And then even what you could also do is, this is like a little trick. So if you find reels that are trending, like audio that's trending, I don't know if you know how to do that, but basically like as you're scrolling and you're like, oh, this is funny, or, oh, this is really deep, or, oh, I like this, watch their audio, click on that audio, whatever they've used. Because usually it's like an audio over like a pretty picture or something like that. Click on that audio, see if it'll show you if it's trending, how many thousands of people have downloaded it. Use that audio over like a picture quote of your book, and you can make it a video. That's what
and then it's a subliminal catchphrase, because then it reminds them of the other thing, and
it just kind of and then what the people do is they click on the audio, and then they see where else has the audio been used, and they start following. It actually really works. I've done it. I don't have time to do it on mine all the time, but I've done it a few times just to try, and it really does work. It really does bring in more. But if you do this a lot, you're going to bring in that audience. Again, hashtags too, but just start speaking about it. It's like, it's letting people know, hey, here's my story and here's my book. It's also going to help your sales for your book. It's just going to give you more authority in that way. And that way they're like, oh, wow, I love the way she speaks, or I might want to coach with her. What they say is it takes 7 times for someone to see something of yours before they decide to buy. They might watch you for a long time as well. And let them, that's fine. Let them watch you all the way until April or May when you launch your course, when you launch your class, your one-on-ones, and then see what signups you got from it. And then once you feel really good about one-on-one coaching, you can then move to group coaching, because you'll be able to handle a bigger group, because it's a little scary at first. But once you're so used to the one-on-ones, you're like, oh, I can do a group. Do your group. And then once that feels good, you could record your group and make that a course. And that's an online course for someone to take. You might not know, the course might change from now until then. So that comes, that's why I say wait for that. But yeah, that could be like your end goal. So maybe at the end of 2024, or maybe it's 2025 for the course, till you feel
as long as it's within that time.
Yeah, you're good.
That is awesome. It's funny. I'm actually a teacher.
Oh my gosh. See, that's perfect.
Yeah. So when you're like, don't, the group's gonna be scary. I do this stuff all the time. I get paid for it.
See, that's perfect. And you're already a teacher. So life coaching, I would actually put, when you have it on your website, I would put life coach, teacher, author, survivor.
Ooh, I got to write that down.
I got more.
I really do. I'm literally writing this down.
Yeah. What did I say? I said
life
coach, teacher, author, survivor, mother. And I would have it on your website. Yep. I would have it on your website. I would have it on your media kit. I would put it on your link tree. Do it now. Put it on your Instagram profile. I would start that now. You can do that now. That way you're stepping into that, Yeah. Yeah. Or you could leave life coach out for now, but put it on when you have it.
Well, I could even put in parentheses in the making.
Yeah. There you go. And you are a teacher. So, you've already got the credentials to teach. So, you could start.
I do. I have to double check, because I actually have a dual undergraduate in psychology.
Okay. See, there you go. It just gets better. It just gets better. And then this is beautiful, because you can craft a really wonderful bio with that background as well. So it's like teaching psychology, life coaching, and you are a survivor and a mother. You've been through this. You wrote the story. You're an author. That's who people want to go to.
Yeah.
So you got this.
And even to add more to the story, after I lost my daughter, I tried to get membership into a postpartum group to help deal with things. And they said I couldn't do it because I didn't have a baby. Oh, man. And I was like, well, okay, I was pregnant and now I'm not, which that means I am postpartum. And they're like, but you didn't actually have a baby. And I'm like, I cannot believe a hospital affiliated postpartum group is denying me membership.
That's really crazy. Yeah. And that just goes to show how closed-minded people are, because you still have the after effects of all the emotions and the physicality part of someone that just blows my mind. I can't.
Yeah.
So you start your own group.
Be what I needed.
Yep. You start your own group. Absolutely. And grow it. I'd start it now. Why not? That's something you could start right now and talk about it, and I would go into the other groups that you're in, as long as it's allowed, and say, hey guys, this is what I've gone through. I have my book out, promote it in there if you're allowed. Usually you're allowed like Fridays or like one day of the month or whatever it may be. And I would just ask the admins, like tell them. And then, and some groups make you pay for the post, like it's $50, whatever, it might be worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And then say, hey, here's my book. Here's what I'm doing. And I've also created a group for people specific for this because I was told this. Talk about it. Start talking about it on Instagram Live too.
Yes, I got it. I'm a little nervous about doing that, but I got to just do it.
Yep, just do it. Get your people. They're going to follow you. And it's important because you're helping others. You're a teacher. You're here for a reason to do that. That's their life path.
It is. Teaching is my life. And, I never wanted to be a teacher. It happened accidentally and found out I was good at it. And and then, I've had some struggles here and there with teaching, as for like finding the right fit in the subject matter. And somebody recently said to me, they're like, you are a teacher. Maybe you just don't teach in a classroom. You teach to others.
See? And that's what coaching is. It's finding your magic. What are you great at? What's your passion? What ignites your soul? You've written a book about it. Now it's time to teach about it. And sometimes
give me all the warm fuzzies.
Yay. It was lovely meeting you. And I'm
wonderful meeting you too. I'm
It's
so excited. I'm like refreshed and motivated. I am ready to tackle this next chapter.
I'm so happy for you too. And if you have any questions or any, I will send you emails too, like kind of
awesome
that way. I'll send you links and whatnot. But if you have anything, questions, like feel free to reach out. I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It has been absolutely wonderful.
Absolutely. Thank you. And again, let's plug where they can let's plug your book again. Let's hold it up just for anyone that's.
There we go.
Behind My Smile. Thank you.
Behind My Smile, a rainbow baby story.
Love it. I can't see that far. That's why I'm like, yes, that's perfect. By Grace Peterson. You guys can find it on Amazon. I'll make sure I put the links below as well. And thank you so much for Grace.
Thank you.
Sharing your story, being brave enough to get it out there. Because that's huge. Like you were saying earlier, it was scary and you did it. And your voice is out there being heard and helping others. And it's so important. So for all those out there going through the same emotions, whatever it may be, let her be your inspiration. Do it. Get it done. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Have a beautiful holiday and sending you so many wishes. And I'm so excited. Keep in touch because I want to know what's happening in the new year for you.
You better believe it. You'll be tops on my list.
Awesome. Thank you, Grace.
Thank you so much.
Bye.